Hello everybody and welcome to a train simulator video. Today we shall be driving a class 43 HST from Sheffield to Leicester on Just Trains' Midland Mainline route. So we shall press continue and then we shall open the doors, get the train into gear, acknowledge the automatic warning system, turn on our marker lights, our headlights, turning off our tail lights, and then I think that is pretty much us ready to go. Also press Ctrl D to put the vigilance device on, and then we'll press Shift and C to get that clag factor up to 10. Just nip outside, swing a camera around, and our headlights are set up correctly, so that's okay. So yeah, this is Just Trains is Midland Mainline route. It was originally released with the first section of it was Sheffield to Derby, and then they've been releasing a number of extensions for it over this year. The second extension to come out was the Matlock branch, and then after that it was the extension from Derby through to Leicester, and then there was the Erewash Valley, and then the most recent one was Barrow Hill Roundhouse. I've only got the section between Sheffield and Leicester. I haven't got any of the other add-ons yet. And I got this last week. In fact, at the time of doing this video, Just Trains, I've got their Christmas sale on, and the Derby to Sheffield section was retailing for about £18, and I think usually it's £24.99. So if you want to get it, just hop onto. I'll leave a link in the description, and you can see if you want to get it or not. But I've had this, I've played with this last week, and so far I'm pretty impressed with it. I was kind of on the fence about getting it because the last couple of routes from I got from JT I wasn't really too happy with, and that was mainly down to really the route's overall performance. The Chiltern Mainline and the Newcastle Edinburgh route, wasn't really happy with those because of the performance. But on the whole, this one's been performing better, and the route's built a little bit better as well than those other two. Because on the Chiltern and Newcastle Edinburgh route, you had like unnecessary scenery plastered all over the spot. So that and 3D tree and the really heavily over reliance on 3D trees. So they sort of kills frame rates a bit. So we shall get set to go for Chesterfield now. Just release the brakes, and the starting speed limit is 15 miles per hour. We also get some VP 185 action out of this as well, which I haven't really touched since I've done the Dovetail Games London to Bedford route. So I've got a nice little home for the for me East Midlands stuff now, which I've got in a collection. And the good thing about JT is that not only do they do scenarios with all the AP rolling stock, but they've also got default versions which use stuff from the European Community Asset Pack, with all the stuff that was in from Rail Simulator, like the 166 and the old HST. So even if you haven't got all the AP stuff, then you're not really missing out. So we're going to speed up to 40 miles per hour. We're calling it Chesterfield, Derby, Long Eaton, East Midlands Parkway, Loughborough and Leicester. So this scenario is about 70 minutes in length. And just see up the top there on the left is the Sheffield Supertram, which is currently operated by the Stagecoach Group. who also previously held the East Midlands Trains franchise. Which is now East Midlands Railway. Next speed change is 80 miles per hour. It's worth noting that this route is compatible with the Armstrong Powerhouse Sky and Weather Enhancement Pack, and that the track was modelled by Goose Studios, or Goetbahnhof as they were originally known. In fact, the new track was introduced with the Leicester extension, because originally the route was built with JT's default track. Goose Studios have also been responsible for doing various modelling work on a number of AP's enhancement packs for various multiple units, and they also recently worked together with AP to bring out the Class 317 a few months ago. Just going to start gently bringing the power down, as we are approaching a 70 miles per hour speed restriction, but we are climbing uphill, so I don't want to shut the power off too early. Just apply step 1 of braking. Just apply the power now. Just reapplying power as we can do 90 miles an hour now. I think it's quite also appropriate doing this video at the time that East Midlands Railway have also withdrawn the last of their VP 185 HSTs, which I believe was the previous week doing this video. They've now got all MTU power cars which were transferred in from London North Eastern Railway. The 125 group have a couple of VP185 power cars which were kindly donated to them by Angel Trains, I think, or Pullsbrook Leasing, one of the leasing companies anyway. And there's also a VP185 now masquerading as the Midland Pullman. Which I believe is now owned by Locomotive Services, just for private rail tour usage now. And that same company, I believe, also, I think we just passed through a passenger there, walking in the middle of the track. I think that same company that has the HST also now has the Class 90 and Mark III DVT in Intercity livery. That's been doing the rounds quite recently on the West Coast Main Line, running private rail charters. Also, quite recently, there's been 3 Class 144 Pacers that have been taken up for preservation and mainline use, apparently. All of the 142s have also been withdrawn, and also quite recently GWR got rid of their 143s as well. So there's been quite a few new trains entering service this year, replacing older stock. About 2 miles away from Chesterfield now, and I believe we're pretty much downhill all the way. Just noticed the DIY store back there, which is obviously a knockoff B&Q. Going to start slowing down for Chesterfield now. Chesterfield, we need to stop right down at the end of the platform. Stop about here and we shall open the doors. Just put the train into neutral so the DSD doesn't sound off whilst we're waiting. So yeah, we've got all the coaches in except for the rear power car. Just nip off to the station building rather quickly. So I've got some nice detailing around the station area here. If I try and swing the camera around with my mouse, which has been a bit dodgy. We've also got a statue here, which is entirely 2D. And there's a little locomotive there. I think that's supposed to be Stevenson, I think. So we can now set off for Derby now, which is the next stop. It's about 24 miles away. Try and have a couple of screenshots. So I can use them for the video thumbnail later on. Just past a cross-country Voyager. East Midlands Railway also operates similar looking Class 222 Meridians. I think the Meridians are pretty much the mainstay of London to Sheffield workings these days, and the HSTs tend to only go through to either Corby or Nottingham. This is where I believe the Erewash Valley line diverges to go via Alfreton and Ilkeston. Going to ease off the power now as we reach 95. the moment we will be able to accelerate further up to 105 initially, and then there's a 110 mile an hour limit pretty much straight after that, in between the two signals. So the limit's just gone up to 110 now. I think it's pretty much downhill all the way into Derby now. As you can probably tell, the line side we've got 3D trees, but just beyond the 3D trees there's 2D trees on the outskirts. In fact, if I just quickly go for an external viewpoint and zoom, right, it'd help if we get the camera up. There we go. I'll just zoom the camera out. There we go. You can get a good idea of how far the scenery goes out. And I think this is like generally how routes should be done in Train Simulator. You don't need like scenery that's like 500 miles away from the track. All you really need to concentrate on is the scenery that you're only ever gonna see from the cab. That's just my opinion anyway. So yeah, in terms of route building, JT have really improved quite a bit with the Midland Mainline one. Kind of leaning towards doing a scripted review about this route at some point in the future, which is something I haven't really done for a while. I think the main reason why I haven't done them for a while is because I'm afraid I'm starting to sound like a broken record because I think I'm too nice. slowing the train down to 100. Just got down there in time just before the game started to penalise us. And we're going to slow down again to 80. So I'll have to get the brakes on a bit hard. We're now joining up with the Matlock branch. Matlock is a place where I've been to a couple of times before, as part of the Peak Rail Vintage Bus Rally. Which I've got a few videos up on the channel. Now accelerate back up to 100. Limit's just gone back up to 110 now. And we're about 7 miles away from Derby. The Midland Mainline is a route I'm not particularly very familiar with. I've only ever been on it once in my lifetime, on one of my numerous trips down to London to visit relatives, because there was one occasion where the West Coast Main Line was shut for engineering works and they were sending services along the Midland Mainline from Manchester. So I remember doing that on I sort of vaguely remember doing that on the Virgin HSTs. I think we've just passed through Duffield Station, which is the terminus of the Ecclesbourne Valley line, which I have been to but only once. The Ecclesbourne Valley, I believe, solely uses first generation DMUs on their line. I think they do have one tank engine, but I think that's on loan at the moment. due in at 18 minutes past. I think the timings are quite generous on this scenario. I'm going to start slowing down now because we've got a speed change here. I think we need to get it down to at least 60 miles per hour. We've got two speed boards that are quite close together on the HUD. And on the final approach to Derby, there are some hidden speed limits which don't show up on the HUD. The speed boards show up on the route, but they don't show up in the HUD, so it have to be. I think it's like down to 40 initially, and then down to 30 as we reach the station. So visually, the route is right, but the HUD is wrong. The HUD is a little bit incorrect. I'm just going to let the train roll in because we are going to be a little bit early into Derby. So we get the Morpeth board for the 30 miles per hour. So you see it on the so you see the Morpeth board on the route, but you don't actually see the speed limit on the HUD. So I think that's more of a train sim issue than anything else. Don't think that's necessarily the route's fault. Probably also just noticed on the red arrow which is showing up on the HUD, that's denoting our stopping point. So in this case it's the HST stop marker. So we have to stop within that arrow. So yeah, the speed on the HUD's just gone down to 40, it should go down to 30 as we reach the platform. And here we are at Derby. I believe all the stations on this route are custom built. There's the HST stop mark. I think we'll be okay here. We've got all the train in the platform anyway. Yeah, so Derby's quite modern. It's got, again, good excuse me, good detailing around the station area. Got some shops opposite the station. Also got some Just Trains branded buses on the forecourt. Got a few weeds growing there in the pavement as well. Let's put the train into neutral so DSD doesn't sound. Got a car park there as well. So coming from the viewpoint of someone who's never been to Derby before, it's very good detailing around the station area. Seats on the platform as well. There's a 153 in there. Apologies for the shoddy camera work. Should have plugged in my Xbox controller. Got a group of people standing there. In a moment we'll be able to accelerate up to 75. In fact, we can start doing that now. Depot here, which is a stabling point for the East Midlands fleet. Derby is also, of course, home of Bombardier, who build the rolling over trains at their Litchurch Lane works. Currently building the Aventura family of electric multiple units, which are entering service on various parts of the network. So only a few weeks ago the 720s have started rolling out on Greater Anglia. Just before the next signal, the speed limit is increasing to 100 miles per hour. Speeding a bit. Never mind. There we go. We're going to go up to 100 there anyway. Just going to slow the train down. Just given we've had the cautionary aspect there. We'll probably stuck behind something, I would think. Might be a DMU on a stopping service, most likely. So we'll keep it trundling around the 70 mark, I think, 75 mark. We're also about 3 miles, well, about a couple of miles away from Long Eaton, which I believe has short platforms. So we won't be able to get all of the train in the station. Just past a cross-country turbo star there. Just easing the train into Long Eaton. So that signal's just cleared to a single yellow. So we are clear to proceed into Long Eaton. So yeah, I think we're gonna have to stop with at least the leading power car in the station. Usually, if a Meridian would be able to at least a 5-car Meridian would be able to comfortably fit here. So we'll just have to stop by the S mark. There's no dedicated HST stop sign. I tell a lie there is, just to be on the platform. Oh well, never mind. We'll just stop here. We'll just put the train in neutral again. As you can see, Long Eaton is one of those stations that are elevated on high ground. It's accessed by stairs and lifts. Oh, I think that's the main station building there. There's a ramp going up there. Just takes a couple of seconds for the power to apply on the HST. In a moment the speed limit will be reduced to 70. And our next station stop is at East Midlands Parkway. Which is only about a mile away. Going to start braking now for East Midlands Parkway station. This is just a little bit beyond this tunnel, just around the corner. East Midlands Parkway is quite a recent addition to the Midland Mainline. I believe it opened in 2010, and it's the closest station to East Midlands Airport. It's, which is linked by a park and ride bus service. There's also a power station on the other side which has its own rail system, or its own rail link. I think we're going to be overshooting this platform. Just a bit distracted by the scenery there, so we'll just open the doors. So if we just go into free cam, See that the power station here has the is linked by rail, so that has some nice freight potential. And the track just loops around. And this is the entrance building to East Midlands Parkway station, which looks very sleek. Oh, that's clever. Instead of the station signage being modelled in 3D, it's a load of 2D layers plastered on top of each other. So it's quite interesting that. So that obviously helps with performance. I think it's the British Rail logo that's a 3D model. So next station stop is now Loughborough, which is about 6 miles away. And then after Loughborough it's Leicester, which is about 19 miles away. In fact, I'll just pause it there, bring it down. Just try and bring it in for another screenshot. I think it's fair to say that JT really do some very nice custom models. Even if their trees do hamper performance, the station models are very look excellent. See, even I'm struggling to find the words for this route because it's I'm pretty impressed with how it's all been put together, and it runs really nicely. So far, I think this is one of JT's best performing routes. I'm not counting the Harwich extension for the Great Eastern Main Line because that is essentially a scenery extension, because all the track and signalling were put in by Dovetail Games on that route, but they just didn't put the scenery in. The next signal, the speed limit is going to be increasing to 120 miles per hour, which is the highest achievable speed on the Midland Mainline. Generally, the average is around 110. We will be getting ready to slow down shortly for Loughborough. suppose one of the advantages of releasing this route out in small segments, it's very good for scenario creation. So if you've only got like half an hour to do a scenario, then the Midland Mainline route is definitely very much recommended. And when you do get the extensions, you are rewarded with slightly longer scenarios, such as this one, which take advantage of the full route. So I'm going to start slowing down for Loughborough now. I'll be hard on the brakes. Certainly is quite a challenge to bring an HST down from a ton to 0. Because there's that input lag between the power and the brakes. We should just get the HST into Loughborough, I think. Platform's just about long enough. But talking of which, I think we've got a HST leaving there. Should be an HST stop marker down at the other end of the platform. And we've just stopped beyond the S marker, but we've still got all the carriages in there. There we are. So yeah, this is Loughborough, and it's surprising just how many heritage railways the East Midland Mainline links up with, because you've got obviously we've had the Peak Rail at Matlock and the Ecclesbourne Valley Line at Duffield, and then Loughborough is also the home of the Great Central Railway, which is currently the only double track heritage railway in the country. It's interesting to note that the Great Central Railway has also been the test bed for newer trains as well, entering service. In fact, it was recently used as a test bed for Northern's Class 769 EMUs, which is a reclassified Class 319 with a diesel engine stuck underneath it. Track on the Great Central is suitable for 70 miles per hour running. Though I think under normal operating days with the public, the trains are restricted to 25 miles per hour because of the light railway order that most heritage railways come with in the UK, which greatly restricts the speed of trains. So our next and final stop is Leicester, which is about 12 miles away. We've got a nice line of ticks there, so scenario will be properly completed when we get a nice tick on Leicester, hopefully. I think, but overall, I think the timings have been quite generous on this scenario. And I also like the difference in the track ballast as well, and the colouring. Have neglected to mention that JT have also quite recently put the Derby to Sheffield section of this route on Steam, which is available for purchase. Though interestingly, that comes with a first Great Western livered HST. Well, that's mainly down to licensing on Dovetail's end. So that's the main reason for that being the way it is. Well, if you're wanting to get the Midland Mainline, I will recommend you purchase it off Just Trains' website, because Just Trains also do a reward point system, so you'll be able to get like a few pennies off your next purchase. Should also mention that you can also get, if you're just interested in the Derby to Leicester section of the Midland Mainline, you can just get that as a standalone route if you want to. But again, I'd recommend getting the base Derby to Sheffield section first, and then you can, if you want more add-ons, you can get the extensions a little bit later on. And if you've got any rolling stock which is more Midlands specific, then this will certainly be a good home for them. performance is a little bit choppy here. I think that's just purely down to the 3D trees, I think. But the frame drops are certainly not as bad as those I've encountered on the Chiltern Mainline and Newcastle and Edinburgh routes. Alright, we need to get our speed right down to 90 miles per hour now. Let's get the speed right down to 40. We're coming in to stop at Leicester now anyway. From here, the train will continue beyond through to Bedford and eventually St Pancras. So I probably wouldn't mind seeing JT doing a Bedford extension for this. I think there's a HST stop marker at this signal. Let's just... No, we'll stop here now. Let's take our key out as well, ready for the next driver. Because drivers have their own keys for the trains that they take out into service. And here we are, journey's end at Leicester. So we'll just wait for the instruction to time out. We arrived bang on time, so it should clear in a minute or two. I think I've got time for one more screenshot. There we are, great work driver, scenario complete. So that was a very enjoyable scenario, that. And it killed two birds with one stone. We covered the base Sheffield to Derby section and then the extension through to Leicester. So overall, a very enjoyable scenario, and I would highly recommend that you pick up the Midland Mainline route. Again, I will leave links in the description. So I think for the next couple of trains and videos will be on this route, because I quite enjoyed that scenario, and I've been having quite a bit of fun as well, playing with it last week. So other than that, thank you very much for watching this video. Hope you've enjoyed it, and I shall see you next time.